is the Kron 4 Morning News.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our 2 live hours of Kron 4 News Weekend.
We have many different ways of helping you manage stress today. You can try visualization, working with the laws of physics and your mind to try and change your circumstances. You can learn how to accept worry and deal with it, or you can play the harmonica. I'm serious. We have 3 different guests trying to help us out.
I think I can do the other 3 better. Harmonica's not my type.
It says right here that we're going to be talking about stress. We're going to be talking about worry. We're going to be talking about the different kinds of worry and how you deal with worry, which has a lot to do with how you deal with change. That's what it says here. That's coming up on Kron 4 News Weekend. There are different kinds of worry, and worry is one of those awful inevitabilities in life. And these days, there's an awful lot of it going around, which is why our next guest is very timely. Ocean Palmer has written the book, Managing the Worry Circle, How to Improve Your Life by Worrying Less. It's a lot of practical advice on something that we may think we know, but we don't necessarily understand. Thanks very much for joining us. So just for starters, you talk about dealing with change as one of the first components of this process.
Yeah, I think it's real important for everybody to understand that when a big change comes down, the mind goes through 4 distinct steps in order to process it, because change is disruptive. And the first phase is the build up to and through the change itself. And for a lot of people now, that's getting forced upon them. And what happens then is once the mind deals with that, it moves to phase 2, which is the panic stage. It's a very emotional reaction. People internalize it. What's it mean to me? And unfortunately, when we deal with things that are beyond our control, people tend to project that out into the worst possible scenario that will never happen. And it just creates, it amplifies the noise in the head to a tremendous degree. And it's a terrible place for folks to be. And so what we want them to do is get from that panic stage to stage 3, which is acceptance. This is the new reality. We go from emotion to fact, because it's from there we can get to stage 4, which is to flourish under the new conditions. This is how the mind works through these things. So it's very important for people to understand that it's okay to feel stressed when a big thing comes out, but let's get through that and then accept the new reality and start planning a new strategy to move ahead.
And a lot of people get stuck in the panic stage, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. They do. Everybody processes change at a different velocity. And this is one of the challenges for business, especially because some people handle it really well and others they dwell on it.
Yeah.
So the bigger the change, the more important it is to communicate it, especially if you're a leader, whether in business or the community. You can't really over-communicate a large change to people.
You also say there are different kinds of worry.
Absolutely.
Can you outline the different kinds?
Well, there's 3 primary things that people, categories that we worry about. Things we can control, which can be remedied by our own actions and behaviors. Things we can influence, but not control. And then things that are beyond our control. And the mind processes these things in radically different ways. When we worry about things we can control, that our own actions can remedy, this actually inspires positive change. Right? Because if it bugs you enough, you step forward and you do it.
Yeah.
Right? So it keeps you on center. The danger is when we go to the opposite, which is things we cannot control, because the mind projects that to the worst possible extreme, which almost never happens. But it's just like spins out. It's like one negative domino hitting the next, the next, the next, the next. And so it's a very dangerous place to be. And unfortunately, Henry, 40% of what people worry about are those things. They don't belong in their head in the first place. And so what I'm trying to do is get people to understand, what you worry about is a choice, but at least understand how it impacts your mind differently, because then you can make better choices to stay centered.
What you're saying is, if you can't control it, worry is not necessarily productive.
Oh, it's terribly counterproductive.
But how? I mean, what's the next step? It's one thing to say, hey, you shouldn't be worrying. Hey, stop worrying.
How do you do it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy for me to say.
Well, what I want people to do is to stop treating their mind like an open bar, which has happened anymore. I mean, people now have more access, more portals into your mind than ever before, because all the technologies and the velocity of information change. So it's, minds for many people become like an open bar. Everybody's allowed in, they trash the place, they don't pay anything for being there, they leave when they feel like it, you clean up a mess. And what I want people to do is treat their mind like a castle. And it's got a drawbridge. And when you lower the drawbridge, you can sweep anything out of there you want and raise that drawbridge back up, protect yourself. uncontrollable concerns certainly belong to be swept out of the castle. Now, every one of us has a list of things in our mind that we do not do. You know, we don't drink and drive. We might have used to smoke, but don't smoke anymore. We're not mean to children. We don't rob banks. And so what I would urge people to do is take this important thing and put it on that list of things you do not do anymore. And it just becomes part of you, and it becomes a habit. So it's just a behavioral reprogramming that you are empowered to do if you appreciate how toxic this stuff is to your head.
We only have 15 seconds left, but you talk about a worry circle. You're saying that there's always going to be a group of things you worry about.
Yes, absolutely.
And the trick is to just keep them manageable, but there's always going to be things to worry about, and that's okay.
The need to worry is relentless, but what we worry about comes and goes, so why not learn how to manage it properly?
Great. The Worry Circle by Ocean Palmer. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks a million, Henry.
Take a break.